My mother-in-law hit me 3 times at Christmas dinner. My 3-year-old daughter watched every second. Then my husband took our daughter's coat, reached for my hand, and walked us out of his parents' house without saying goodbye. For 12 years, Daniel had asked me to keep the peace with his family. That night, for the first time, he chose me instead. I thought that was the end of it. It was not. By the next morning, I would learn that the woman who hit me had just discovered we were buying a house she could not control. I would learn that my father-in-law had given Daniel money his wife believed belonged to someone else. And I would learn something worse than all of it. For years, Daniel had let his mother blame me for decisions he had made himself. The slap was loud enough to silence 11 people. It happened beside a dining table covered in half-finished food. A glazed ham sat between 2 casserole dishes. Someone had lit cinnamon candles in the living room. Christmas music played low enough that I could hear the singer holding a long note while Patricia Bennett's palm struck my cheek. I did not understand what had happened at first. My head turned toward the Christmas tree. The room shifted sideways for a second. My hand went automatically to my face. Then she hit me again, and once more. Not theatrical slaps, not the kind that looked dramatic from across a room. They were quick, ugly, deliberate. 3 hard cracks from a woman who had decided, in front of her husband, her children, her relatives, and my child, that she was entitled to put her hands on me. "You are trash," Patricia said. Daniel's chair scraped against the floor behind me. Patricia pointed past my shoulder toward Lucy. "Take that trash and get out." Lucy did not understand every word. She was 3. But children understand fear before they understand language. She saw her grandmother yelling. She saw my face. She saw every adult at the table go still. Her mouth trembled. "Mommy!" That was the moment Daniel moved. He was on his feet before I could reach for her. He took Lucy's red coat from the back of her chair, lifted it around her shoulders, and then came to me. His hand found mine. "Come on," he said. Patricia stared at him. "Daniel, do not be ridiculous." He did not look at her. "Come on, Claire." I picked Lucy up. She pressed her face into my neck and wrapped both arms around me so tightly I could barely breathe. Daniel opened the front door. The cold December air hit my cheek, and for the first time since Patricia stood over me, I felt like I could think. Behind us, Robert said, "Patty, enough." It was several minutes too late. No one followed us outside. Daniel buckled Lucy into her car seat while I stood beside the car, holding her stuffed rabbit and trying to stop my hands from shaking. I could feel heat rising under my left cheekbone. Later, I would see the redness in the bathroom mirror. By morning, there would be a faint purple shadow under my skin. Daniel came around to my side of the car. "Do you want to go to urgent care?" he asked. I looked at Lucy through the rear window. She had her rabbit tucked beneath her chin. Her eyes were wide and exhausted. "Not tonight," I said. "Do you want to call the police?" The question made my stomach turn, not because it was unreasonable, because it forced me to name what had happened. "I want to take our daughter home," I said. "I want her warm. I want her asleep. Then I want to think." Daniel nodded once. "Okay." We drove home without the radio. Halfway there, Lucy spoke from the back seat. "Is Grandma mad at me?" I turned around so quickly that the seatbelt tightened across my shoulder. "No, sweetheart." Daniel gripped the steering wheel. "You did nothing wrong," he said. Lucy thought about that for a moment. "Did Mommy do something wrong?" Daniel kept his eyes on the road. "No," he said, and his voice broke on the word. "Mommy did nothing wrong either." At home, I carried Lucy upstairs and ran her a bath. I let her use too many bubbles because I did not have the energy to care about reasonable soap consumption. Within 10 minutes, she was making a plastic mermaid swim through a mountain of foam. Children can return to the present more quickly than adults. I could not. When I came downstairs, Daniel was standing in the kitchen with his phone pressed to his ear. He saw me and lowered his voice. "No, Dad, this is not another argument." He listened. Then he said, "She hit Claire." There was silence on the other end. 3 times, Daniel said. And she pointed at Lucy and called her trash. He listened again. His face changed. "Then tell her everything," he said. He ended the call. I stood in the doorway with one hand on the frame. "Tell her what?" Daniel looked at me. "The house," he said. I stared at him. "What about the house?" "I will explain." I folded my arms. "That sentence has not gone well for me tonight." He nodded. tired and ashamed. Fair. Before he could say more, I asked the question that had been trapped in my throat since we left his parents' house. Why did it take this? Daniel knew what I meant. Claire? No. I am glad you left with us. I am glad you did not stay there and ask me to calm down. But why did your mother have to hit me before you stopped telling me to ignore her? He sat at the kitchen table. For once, there was no defense waiting behind his eyes. I do not know, he said. Yes, you do. He looked down. The kitchen clock ticked above the refrigerator. Upstairs, Lucy laughed softly at something in the bath. I think, Daniel said at last, I knew if I pushed back, she would make everything worse. And she did not make everything worse anyway? He did not answer. That was answer enough. Later, after Lucy was asleep beneath her fleece blanket on the couch, Daniel's phone rang again. Robert! Daniel answered on speaker. Dad! Robert spoke for less than a minute. Daniel closed his eyes as he listened. All right, he said. I understand. He ended the call. What happened? I asked. Daniel rubbed his forehead. Mom knows about the money, he said. And she knows about the house. Christmas dinner had been the explosion, but I was beginning to understand that it had only lit the fuse. The next morning, Lucy sat cross-legged on the living room rug, opening presents we had brought home from Patricia's house. Torn wrapping paper covered the floor. Daniel sat across from me, on the couch, holding a mug of coffee he had forgotten to drink. Dad told her everything, he said. I looked up. Everything about the gift and the house. That landed differently. For 6 years, Daniel and I had rented the same narrow townhouse. It had beige carpet, one upstairs bathroom, a tiny backyard, and a kitchen so small that 2 adults could not open drawers at the same time without negotiating. We were not poor, we were not careless. We worked, paid our bills, saved what we could, and tried to build a life without pretending we could afford one before we actually could. Patricia had never respected that. She had opinions about our rent, our jobs, our cars, Lucy's daycare, the way we spent holidays. The fact that I bought coffee on the way to work twice a week. Once, at Thanksgiving, she watched me put a purse on the back of a chair and said, There goes another square foot of your future house. The purse had cost $40 at a discount store. I had owned it for 4 years. I laughed then. I had laughed at many things I should have named. A few months before Christmas, Robert and Patricia had sold the large colonial house where they had lived for more than 3 decades. They moved into a smaller condo nearby. Patricia called it civilized. Robert called it easier. After the sale, Robert told Daniel privately that he wanted to help both of his children. He had money from an inheritance his mother had left him years earlier, along with savings he had maintained in a separate account. He planned to give Daniel and Melissa equal gifts. Not enough to make anyone rich. Enough to matter. Enough to change the timing of our lives. Daniel and I had saved for years. Robert's gift gave us the final amount we needed for a down payment. We found a 3-bedroom house in an older neighborhood 20 minutes away. It had a brick front, a fenced yard, original hardwood upstairs, and a kitchen that had not been updated since at least the late 70s. The basement smelled faintly like old carpet and rainwater. It was perfect. Lucy walked into the smallest bedroom, pointed at the maple tree outside the window, and said, This one is mine. We were supposed to close 2 days after Christmas. Patricia did not know. Dad asked me not to tell her yet, Daniel said. Why? He gave me a look. You know why. Yes, I said. I want to hear you say it. Daniel sighed. Because she would have made it a fight. There it was. Everyone knew. Everyone adjusted. Everyone waited for the weather system named Patricia to pass through the family without tearing something apart. What did she think Robert's money would be used for? I asked. Daniel looked toward Lucy. She had opened a box of magnetic tiles and was building a tower that leaned like it had already accepted its fate. Mostly Melissa, he said. I was not surprised. Melissa had separated from her husband 7 months earlier. She had 2 teenagers, rent on a new place, legal fees, a car payment that made no sense for her budget, and a habit of acting confident whenever she felt afraid. Patricia had been telling her for months not to worry. We will take care of you, she said. Melissa had heard a promise. Then Robert divided his money equally. Daniel's phone rang. Mom. He let it ring twice before answering. Hi, Mom. I could hear Patricia's tone from across the room. I could not make out every word, but I knew that tone. Sharp, fast, injured, already certain that someone else had wronged her. What do you mean, how much? Daniel asked. Dad gave me what he chose to give me. Patricia raised her voice. Daniel pulled the phone away from his ear. I heard one sentence clearly. She put him up to this. For years, that accusation would have earned Daniel a tired smile or an eye roll. Later, he might have told me not to take it personally. This time, he looked at me and said, Claire did not make Dad give me anything. Patricia answered immediately. Daniel's mouth tightened. No, Mom. Another burst of words. Then came the line I had heard more times than I could count. You have changed since you married her. Daniel went still. Claire did not make me leave last night, he said. You did. Silence. Then the call ended. She hung up, he said. Shocking. He gave me a look. I was not ready to be generous. He sat down across from me. I know this does not fix anything. No, I am trying. I know. That was the uncomfortable part. He had done the right thing the night before. He was doing the right thing now. But I was not going to turn one decent day into forgiveness for 12 years. You were there for me last night, I said. I am not going to pretend you were not. He looked relieved for half a second. But last night did not start last night. The relief disappeared. Good. Before Daniel could answer, the doorbell rang. Robert stood outside, holding 2 shopping bags. He looked 10 years older than he had the evening before. Lucy ran toward him. Grandpa! He smiled, and for a moment he looked like himself again. Hey, Peanut. He had brought the gifts we left behind. Lucy sat on the floor and opened a stuffed dinosaur and another set of magnetic tiles. When she became absorbed in building something that looked like a hospital collapsing during an earthquake, Robert came into the kitchen. I am sorry, he said. I looked at him. He did not say he was sorry for Patricia. That mattered. I should have stopped it sooner, he said. Yes, I said. He nodded. No argument, no request to make him feel better. Then he looked at Daniel. Your mother wants me to take the money back. I almost laughed. Can she? No, Robert said quickly. The gift was mine to make, from my account. It is done. Then what is the problem? Robert's jaw tightened. The lender still needs the final gift letter. I remembered the paperwork. The mortgage company needed confirmation that Robert's money was a true gift, not a loan we would later have to repay. He had provided bank statements and the first letter already. The loan officer had emailed a final signed form the day before. I was supposed to sign it this morning, Robert said. And Patricia knows? I asked. Yes, of course she did. Robert gave a humorless laugh. She told me that if I signed one more thing for you two, I should not bother coming home. Daniel leaned back in his chair. Dad, I know. No, Robert said. I do not think you do. His voice was quiet, but it carried something I had never heard from him before. Fear. Not the brief fear of a man in an argument, the settled fear of someone who had organized his whole life around keeping one person calm. Daniel's voice stayed even. If you want to change your mind about the gift, say that, but do not tell me Mom scared you into it. Robert flinched. Not dramatically, just enough. I suddenly understood that the mortgage letter was not really the problem. Not for Robert. He had spent most of his adult life avoiding this exact moment. Patricia pushed. Robert softened. Everyone else adapted. It was almost a family business model. When does the lender need it? I asked. Daniel checked his phone. Tomorrow morning. If they do not receive it, underwriting may push the closing. Robert stared at the table. I could see the choice working through him. Go home, keep Patricia calm, tell Daniel the closing could wait. Tell everyone it was just a few days. Call that peace. I stood. Robert, he looked up. I am not asking you to fight your wife for me, but if you promised your son something, you need to decide whether your word changes when Patricia gets angry. Daniel glanced at me. Robert was silent for a long time. Then he nodded. I will take care of it. For the rest of Christmas morning, nothing happened. No signed letter, no call, no apology. By late afternoon, Daniel was pacing between the kitchen and the living room. Maybe we should delay, he said. I looked at him. What? The house. A few days. Let all of this settle down. There it was. The old instinct. Wait until Mom calms down. Let everyone else's plans bend around her anger. If we delay because we want to, fine, I said. But if we delay because your mother frightened your father out of signing one form, then nothing has changed. Daniel stopped pacing. He did not argue. His phone buzzed. An email. For a second, he just stared at the screen. Then he turned it toward me. The signed gift letter was attached. A minute later, Robert called. I signed it, he said. You okay? Daniel asked. Robert exhaled. Your mother gave me an ultimatum. I decided I am too old to keep pretending an ultimatum is a conversation. I looked at Daniel. Robert was quiet for a moment. I should have learned a long time ago that peace you buy with somebody else's dignity is not peace. That was the first time I heard Robert say something that made me think Christmas had broken more than one old habit. It also made me wonder how many others were still waiting to come apart. The signed letter made me feel better for about 12 hours. Then the loan officer called the morning after Christmas. We have the final gift letter, she said. Underwriting is reviewing the updated file. I do not want to promise Friday until they sign off. So we are not cleared to close? Not yet. I looked across the kitchen at Daniel. He was making coffee and pretending not to listen. What happens if they do not sign off today? We would probably need to push closing. Probably. My least favorite word in the English language when money was involved. Okay, I said. Call me when you know. After I hung up, Daniel slid a mug toward me. It could be worse. That is what people say immediately before something gets worse. He almost smiled. The truth was, I did not think Patricia could take the house away from us. She could not. What bothered me was the familiar pattern. She got angry, and suddenly everyone else's schedule changed. Robert had spent Christmas being threatened in his own home. Daniel and I were talking about delaying a closing. Melissa was calling relatives. Patricia was likely sitting in her condo, furious that everyone else had ruined her holiday. Around 11, someone knocked at the door. Daniel looked through the front window. Melissa? Oh, good, I said. Maybe she is selling cookies. Do you want me to tell her to leave? I thought about it. No. Melissa stood on the porch in jeans and a long gray coat. She looked nothing like the woman who had needled me across Patricia's Christmas table. Can I come in? She asked. Depends. What weather did your mother send you with? She did not send me. I stepped aside. Daniel took Lucy upstairs to get dressed. Whatever Melissa wanted, I did not want my daughter sitting in the middle of it. Melissa stayed standing. I came to say I am sorry. For which part? She winced. Fair enough, for Christmas. That narrows it down to about 6 things. Claire. I waited. I should have done something when Mom hit you. Yes. I froze. So did everybody else. I did not think she would do that. Neither did I. And what she said about Lucy was disgusting. I looked at her carefully. That was the first time anyone besides Daniel or Robert had said it that plainly. Then Melissa ruined the moment. I just wish none of the money stuff had happened at the same time. There it was. What money stuff? She looked at me as if we both knew. Dad giving Daniel all that money. He gave you the same amount. That is not the point. It feels close to the point. Melissa stood straighter. You do not understand what is happening with me. Then explain it. So she did. Her separation was worse financially than she had admitted. Her husband had moved out. Attorneys were involved. Her oldest needed braces. Her rent had gone up. The lease on her SUV had turned into another problem. Patricia had been telling her for months not to worry. We will take care of you, Melissa said. I heard that as a promise. And when you found out Robert divided the money equally, you thought there would be less for you. She looked away. Yes, at least she said it. I softened a little. Not because she was entitled to Daniel's share. Because fear makes people ugly sometimes. And I knew what it felt like to be afraid of money. Your father did not take something from you and give it to Daniel, I said. I know. Do you? She nodded. Then she said something strange. Mom has never really thought this was about money. What does that mean? Melissa hesitated. Do you remember when Daniel turned down Uncle Rick's job? Of course I remembered. 8 years earlier, Daniel's uncle owned an electrical contracting company 2 counties away. He had offered Daniel a supervisory job. It came with better pay, a company truck, and long hours. It also came with family politics and an uncle who believed weekends were a rumor. Daniel said no. Patricia blamed me. She told people I did not want Daniel working with his family. She said I had convinced him to throw away an opportunity. You did not tell him to turn it down, Melissa said. It was not a question, no. I know. Something inside me went very still. How? Daniel told me back then. He said he did not want Uncle Rick as his boss. He knew they would end up fighting. And you knew that for 8 years? Melissa's face tightened. I did not think it mattered this much. Your mother has used that job as Exhibit 1 in the case against me for nearly a decade. I know. Apparently, everybody knew except the person on trial. Did Patricia know? I asked. No. Did Daniel ever correct her? Melissa did not answer. She did not need to. Daniel came downstairs a few minutes later. He saw my face, then Melissa's. What happened? I looked at him. Did I make you turn down your uncle's job? He stopped. Melissa picked up her coat. I should go. Yes, I said. You should. The door closed behind her. Daniel remained near the stairs. No, he said. You did not make me turn it down. Did your mother think I did? Yes. Did you know she thought that? He rubbed the back of his neck. Yes. There are moments in a marriage when you discover something enormous. This was not one of them. That was almost worse. It was small, cowardly, ordinary. Exactly the kind of thing that can sit quietly inside a marriage for years, while everyone pretends it is not there. Why did you not correct her? I asked. I thought she would get over it. She brings it up every Thanksgiving. I know. She told people I was isolating you from your family. I know. She treated me like I stole some great future from you. I know. That third I know did it. I stood. What else? Daniel frowned. What? What else have you let her blame me for because correcting her would have been uncomfortable? Claire, do not say my name like that. Answer the question. He looked toward the floor, and there it was again. Silence. Not confusion. Inventory. I felt more tired than angry. You actually have to think about it. I screwed up. That is not an answer. I know. I picked up my coffee. It had gone cold. Perfect. Daniel sat at the kitchen table. I did not sit around planning to make you the bad guy. I know you did not. That surprised him. You just discovered it was convenient. He looked at me. Neither of us had anything useful to say after that. That afternoon, the loan officer called with good news. Underwriting has the signed gift documentation. We are working toward Friday. Working toward? I asked. She laughed carefully. I know, mortgage people have commitment issues. Against my will, I smiled. The house was still moving forward. Our marriage felt considerably less certain. That evening, Robert called to ask whether the paperwork had gone through. I thanked him. You should not have had to worry about it, he said. Then he paused. Claire, I am sorry about more than the form. I waited. I did not rescue Daniel from the silence, he said. I spent years telling myself Patricia calmed down faster if nobody pushed back. Does she? I asked. No. I almost laughed. Robert sighed. I think everybody else just got quieter. After we hung up, I found Daniel in the kitchen loading the dishwasher badly. He had put a saucepan where the plates belonged. Under normal circumstances, I would have fixed it. I did not. Tomorrow, I said. I want the whole list. He turned. What list? Every decision your mother blamed on me that was actually yours. He stared at me for a moment. Then he nodded. Okay. The next morning, Daniel made the list. Not on paper. That would have been almost funny. We sat at the kitchen table while Lucy watched Bluey in the living room, and my husband walked me through 12 years of decisions I had apparently made, without knowing it. Thanksgiving at your mother's, he said first. I stared at him. My father had died 3 weeks before that Thanksgiving. Daniel and I had gone to my mother's house because I could not imagine leaving her alone. Patricia said, I pulled you away from your family, I said. You did not. I wanted to go. Did you tell her that? He looked down at his coffee. No. I nodded. Next. The Outer Banks trip. That one took me a second. You hated that rental house, I said. I did. I said sharing 2 bathrooms with 14 people was not a vacation. I remember your mother told everyone I would not let you go. I know. You are going to have to retire those 2 words for a while. Fair. Daycare had been his choice, too. Patricia wanted to watch Lucy 3 days a week after she was born. Daniel did not want our childcare tied to whether Patricia was happy with us that month. He had never told her that. Then there was the down payment offer 3 years earlier. I remembered refusing it together. What I had forgotten was why Daniel had been so adamant. She wanted her name involved somehow, he said, and she kept talking about having a key. I remember the key. She said if she helped buy the place, she should not have to call before coming over. And you said no. Yes. But she thinks I said no. He nodded. I sat back. You let your mother believe I rejected her money because I did not want her in our lives. I did. Why? His answer took a while. Then he said the ugliest, truthful thing he had said yet, because it was easier when she was mad at you than when she was mad at me. I looked at him. He did not soften it. He did not add that he had been protecting us. He did not call it a misunderstanding. Good. Because he had not protected us. I know, I said. He looked surprised. That is the problem, Daniel. I know. He rubbed both hands over his face. I was a coward. Yes, I thought I was keeping things from blowing up. You were not. They just blew up on me instead. That hurt him. I could tell. I was not trying to hurt him. I also was not going to make the truth prettier because he had finally found the courage to look at it. Around noon, I packed a small bag for Lucy. Daniel appeared in the bedroom doorway. Where are you going? Susan's. For how long? A few hours, maybe dinner. His expression changed. Are you leaving? I am going to Susan's. You know what I mean. I zipped Lucy's little backpack. No, I am not announcing a divorce 2 days after Christmas, but I need room. Claire, I told you everything. I know. And I am trying to understand whether you are changing or whether you are reacting because Christmas got ugly. He said nothing. Walking out of your mother's house was the first right thing, I said. It cannot be the only one. He nodded slowly. I kissed his cheek before I left. That confused both of us. Marriage is inconvenient that way. You can be furious with someone and still notice they have not eaten lunch. Susan had known me for 17 years. She possessed the rare gift of letting me talk without turning my life into a courtroom drama. She gave Lucy apple slices and peanut butter, poured me coffee, and said, So what are you going to do? I do not know. Good. I frowned. Good. People make terrible decisions when they decide they need an answer by Tuesday. That was Susan. Comforting, provided you did not require actual comfort. Lucy spent the afternoon trying to put a scarf on Susan's extremely patient Labrador. I watched her from the kitchen window and wondered how much she would remember about Christmas dinner. I hoped only the wrong parts would fade. Later that afternoon, Melissa called. I almost ignored it. I answered mostly because I wanted to know whether Patricia had sent her again. She did not, Melissa said immediately. You have developed mind reading. No, you have developed a tone. Fair. She asked how Daniel and I were doing. I should have said fine. Instead, I told her the truth. I do not know if I trust him right now. Melissa was quiet. I get that. I love him. That is not the issue. What is? I need to know whether he is actually changing or just reacting because Christmas got ugly. I need room to figure that out. Melissa said she understood. That should have been the end of it. An hour later, Daniel called. Did you tell Melissa you were leaving me? I closed my eyes. No. Mom just called and said you were planning to take Lucy and leave. I knew immediately. Melissa. I hung up and called her. She answered with, Claire, I can explain. Never a promising opening. You told Patricia I was leaving Daniel. I told her you needed space. She kept asking what was going on. And you carried information straight back to her. I was not trying to hurt you. Melissa, you keep saying you do not want to be like your mother. Silence. Then stop carrying information back to her. She did not defend herself this time. I am sorry. I believe you. That seemed to surprise her. But do not do it again. When Lucy and I got home, Robert's car was outside. He was sitting with Daniel in the kitchen. I wanted to talk to you, he said. Daniel started to stand. Robert shook his head. No. You should hear it too. He looked at me. I owe you an apology for Christmas, for much longer than Christmas. He told me that for most of his marriage, he treated Patricia's anger like a kitchen fire. Smother it fast. Do not ask what started it. If she was angry at Daniel, smooth it over. If she was angry at Melissa, fix the problem. If she was angry at him, apologize before dinner. And if she was angry at me? I asked. Robert swallowed. The easiest solution was to tell you not to take it personally. You did not keep the peace, Robert. He looked at me. You kept moving the discomfort onto whoever complained the least. He sat with that. Then he nodded. You are right. My phone rang before anyone could say more. The loan officer. I stepped into the hallway. Claire, she said, you are clear to close Friday morning. I leaned against the wall. Really? Really. 9:30. Bring your identification and prepare to sign your name more times than seems reasonable. I laughed. It was the first genuine laugh I had had since Christmas Eve. When I returned to the kitchen, Daniel could tell from my face. We are cleared. We are cleared. He stood and hugged me. I let him. For 30 seconds, the whole mess felt smaller. We had made it through the paperwork. Robert had stood by his word. Daniel was finally telling the truth. Maybe Patricia had finally realized she had gone too far. Then Daniel's phone buzzed. He read the message. His eyebrows lifted. What? I asked. He handed me the phone. It was from Patricia. I was wrong. I want to apologize to Claire. Please bring Lucy tomorrow. I read it twice. That is something, Daniel said quietly. It was. Patricia Bennett did not say I was wrong. Not in my experience. Maybe Robert had gotten through to her. Maybe Christmas had frightened her too. Maybe losing control for once had forced her to look at herself. I wanted to believe that. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Daniel's Aunt Carol. After awkward Christmas small talk, she said, I hope you and Patricia can work this out. She is devastated. I imagine everybody is. She says you will not let her see Lucy. I looked at Daniel. Carol continued. She thinks you are using the child to punish her. There it was. I thanked Carol and ended the call. Daniel did not ask. He had heard enough. I handed him his phone back. Your mother's apology is not an apology. His shoulders dropped. No, she wants access. He sat down. For once, he did not tell me to give Patricia a chance. He just said, then she can explain herself in front of everyone. I looked at him. Everyone? Everyone who was there. Robert nodded slowly. Maybe that is what should have happened years ago. I was not excited about another Bennett family gathering. The last one had gone exceptionally badly, but this time Lucy would not be there. And this time I was not going to sit quietly while everyone else decided what had happened to me. We met the next afternoon at a restaurant Robert chose 15 minutes from his condo. Neutral territory. That was my condition. My other condition was that Lucy would not be there. Susan had her for the afternoon. When I dropped her off, Lucy barely looked up from the dollhouse long enough to say goodbye. I was grateful for that. Whatever happened at that table, my daughter had already attended one Bennett family meeting too many. When Daniel and I walked into the private dining room, everyone else was there. Robert, Patricia, Melissa, Aunt Carol, Daniel's cousin Mark, all of them had been at Christmas dinner. Patricia looked behind us. Where is Lucy? Not hello, not how are you. Where is Lucy? I took off my coat. She is not part of this conversation. Patricia's lips tightened. I thought the point was to put this family back together. The point is to talk about what happened. I know what happened. Good, I said. That should save time. Daniel glanced at me. I was not trying to be funny. It simply came out that way. We sat. Nobody ordered food. A waiter entered with menus, took one look at the room, and quietly left them on a side table. Patricia started. I asked everyone here because I want to apologize. I waited. She folded her hands in front of her. I am sorry things got so emotional on Christmas. I kept waiting. Apparently that was it. Melissa looked down. Daniel said, Mom, what? That is not an apology, I said. Patricia looked offended. I just apologized. For what? For everything getting out of hand. You hit me 3 times. Her eyes moved to me. Yes, Claire, I lost my temper. You hit me 3 times. I heard you. Then say it. Robert shifted in his chair. Patricia looked around the table, perhaps hoping someone would rescue her. Nobody did. Fine, she said. I should not have slapped you. 3 times. Oh, for God's sake. There it was. The apology had lasted less than a minute. Patricia leaned back. You and Melissa were arguing. You were disrespectful in my home. I reacted badly. Melissa looked up. Mom, do not put me in this. You were there, so was everybody else. Patricia ignored her. I have already admitted I should not have lost my temper, but Claire has spent 3 days acting as if I attacked her for no reason. Daniel said, there is no reason that makes hitting my wife okay. Patricia turned to him. I am talking to Claire. No, Daniel said. You are talking about my wife. There is a difference. I did not look at him, but I heard it. Patricia did too. She changed direction. And this ridiculous accusation that I call Lucy trash needs to stop. My stomach tightened. You did. No. I was angry. I pointed toward the door and told you to take your things and leave. I stared at her. That was not even close to what she had said. You pointed at Lucy. I did not. Yes, you did. I think I would remember. Melissa spoke before I could. Mom. Patricia looked at her. You pointed right at Lucy. You said, take that trash and get out. You were looking at her. The room went still. Patricia blinked. Melissa, stay out of this. I was sitting 6 feet away. You were upset. So was Claire. That does not mean she imagined it. Patricia stared at her daughter as if Melissa had switched languages mid-sentence. Then she looked at Robert. He did not help. That was when Patricia stopped pretending to apologize. You know what she said? Patricia asked, looking around the table. I am tired of being made into some kind of monster because Claire is sensitive about where she came from. There it was, the old weapon, class, my childhood, the little duplex my parents rented, my father's work shirts, my mother's coupons. Things Patricia had never insulted directly enough for Daniel to call cruel, but never subtly enough for me to miss. She has always had a chip on her shoulder, Patricia continued. From the beginning, Daniel had opportunities before he married her. He could have gone into business with Rick. No, Daniel said quietly. Patricia stopped. What? Claire did not make me turn down Uncle Rick's job. Patricia frowned. I know what happened. No, you do not. Daniel leaned forward. I did not want the job. I did not want Uncle Rick as my boss. Claire told me to make my own decision. Patricia looked at me, then back at him. Daniel continued, she did not make me skip the Outer Banks trip either. I did not want to go. Thanksgiving at her mother's was my decision. Daycare was my decision. Turning down your down payment offer was my decision. Patricia's face changed. The daycare thing? The money? You are saying all of that was you? Yes. Then why did you not tell me? Daniel was quiet for 1 second. For one terrible second, I thought he might do what he had always done. Look down, soften it, find a way to make her anger easier to live with. Then he raised his head. Because I was a coward, he said. Nobody moved. He looked at me before continuing. I let you blame Claire because it was easier than having you angry at me. Patricia shook her head. That is ridiculous. No, Daniel said. It is true. So now you are blaming me for your marriage problems. Daniel almost smiled. No, I am blaming myself for mine. That shut her up for a few seconds. Then she turned back to me. Fine. Apparently everyone has decided you are completely innocent. What do you want, Claire? I want you to stop lying about Christmas. I am not lying. Lucy is 3 years old. She does not even understand what I said. That did it. I heard my own voice before I had time to manage it. She watched you hit her mother 3 times. Nobody at the table moved. Even Patricia went quiet. I lowered my voice. She did not need to understand the word. She understood you were pointing at her. She understood you were yelling. She understood everybody at that table was afraid to stop you. Patricia's face reddened. Stop making me sound like some monster. Then stop asking us to rewrite Christmas. She pushed her chair back. I am done. Patty, no, Robert said. Apparently this is a trial now. She stood and grabbed her purse. Then she looked at Daniel. Come on, we are leaving. Daniel did not move. Patricia waited. Daniel! He remained seated beside me. I am sitting with my wife. I had known my husband for 14 years. I had heard him say more impressive things, more romantic things, certainly longer things. Nothing ever meant more to me than those 5 words. Patricia stared at him. So this is what she wanted. No, Daniel said. This is what I should have done years ago. She looked at me. What exactly are you demanding? I am not demanding anything. You are keeping my granddaughter from me. For now, yes. Her mouth opened. I continued. If you want a normal relationship with Lucy again, you need to acknowledge that you hit me. You need to acknowledge what you called her. And you need to stop treating every decision Daniel makes as something I did to you. Patricia gave a bitter laugh. So I have to beg. No, I said. You have to take responsibility. She turned to Robert. I saw the old reflex in her face. Fix this. Robert did not. Instead, he said, you threw a 3-year-old out of our home on Christmas. I did not throw Lucy out. I was there, Patty. She stopped. Robert continued. And while we are clearing things up, Daniel's money stays with Daniel. Melissa's money stays with Melissa. I am not taking anything back. Patricia looked around the table. For once, there was nobody left to rearrange reality for her. She picked up her coat and walked out. Nobody followed. The door closed. For several seconds, all I could hear was restaurant music through the wall. Melissa looked at me. I should have stopped her on Christmas. Yes, I said. She nodded. And I should not have told Mom what you said about Daniel. I am sorry. I believed her. That did not magically repair anything, but it was honest. I appreciate you saying it, I told her. Robert stared at the empty chair where his wife had been. Daniel reached under the table and took my hand. This time, I let him keep it. The next morning at 9:30, we closed on our house. A week earlier, I thought signing those papers would be the biggest decision I made that month. By then, the house was almost the easy part. The harder question was whether Daniel and I could build something different inside it. We sat side by side in a conference room at the title company while a woman named Joanne slid papers across the table and explained taxes, escrow, insurance, and several things I would have sworn we had already discussed 6 times. Lucy was with Susan again. I was grateful. Buying a house is exciting for adults. For a 3-year-old, it is mostly watching your parents sign papers while being told not to touch a stapler. Joanne handed Daniel another document. He signed it, then passed the pen to me. No more hiding behind you, he said quietly. Joanne glanced up. I imagined she had heard stranger things at closings. I looked at my husband. Then do not, I said. I signed. That was it. No grand declaration, no promise that everything between us was suddenly fixed. Just 2 people putting their names on the same page and understanding that the harder agreement was not written there. By lunchtime, we had the keys. When we picked Lucy up and drove to the house, she screamed before Daniel had completely stopped the car. My tree! She meant the maple outside her bedroom. She ran through the front door, up the stairs, and directly into the smallest room. This is mine. Daniel leaned against the doorway. We gathered that. She pointed at the window. And the tree. The tree is outside, Daniel said. My tree is outside. Apparently, property law worked differently when you were 3. We ate pizza on the living room floor because our furniture would not arrive until the next day. Cardboard boxes were everywhere. There were no curtains, and one hallway light fixture made a faint buzzing sound. It was perfect. Not because it was a dream house, it was not. The kitchen cabinets were older than our marriage, and the upstairs bathroom had a blue sink that looked like it had survived several presidential administrations. But nobody could walk through the front door because they believed family entitled them to do it. That afternoon, Daniel came back from the hardware store holding 2 extra keys. He put one on my keyring, then he held up the other. Who gets this one? I looked at it. 3 years earlier, Patricia had offered us money and talked about her future house key before we had even found a house. I opened the kitchen junk drawer. Nobody yet? Daniel dropped it inside. Works for me. Patricia did not speak to me for almost 6 weeks. She spoke about me quite a bit. I knew because relatives have a remarkable ability to deliver information nobody requested. One aunt called Daniel to say his mother was heartbroken. Another said Patricia felt we had taken her granddaughter away. Daniel stopped explaining. That was new. He would say, Mom knows what happened, or Mom knows what she needs to do. Then he changed the subject. He did not say Claire is not comfortable. He did not say Claire thinks we should wait. He did not make me the border guard anymore. They were his boundaries too. Robert changed in quieter ways. Patricia tried using him as a messenger at first. Your mother wants to know if Lucy can come over Sunday, he said one afternoon. Daniel asked, Does Mom have my number? Robert laughed. Point taken. A couple of weeks later, he told us he had started seeing a counselor. So you and Patricia are going together? I asked. No, he said. This one is for me. He said he had spent 45 years believing that avoiding conflict made him easygoing. His counselor introduced him to the inconvenient possibility that sometimes it just made him unavailable. I liked my version better, Robert told me. I bet. Melissa and I took longer. She apologized again for repeating what I told her. I accepted it. That did not mean I started calling her every afternoon. Trust is not a light switch, but she stopped defending Patricia automatically. And I stopped assuming every phone call from her came with an agenda. During her separation, she began handling more of her own financial problems instead of letting Patricia promise to fix everything. We became civil, then occasionally friendly. For sisters-in-law, that qualified as significant progress. Patricia finally called me in February. Can we meet? I almost said no. Instead, we met at a coffee shop halfway between our houses. Public, neutral. Old habits die hard. She arrived before me. For the first 10 minutes, she talked around Christmas. She had been under stress. Melissa's separation had worried her. Selling the old house had been emotional. She had whined. She felt excluded from Daniel's plans. I listened. Then I picked up my purse. Patricia stopped. Where are you going? Home. I have not finished. I think you have. She stared at me. I stood. Then she said, Claire. Something in her voice made me wait. She looked down at her coffee. I hit you. I sat back down. She swallowed. I pointed at Lucy. I called her trash. There was a long pause. There is no excuse for either one. That was all I had wanted from her. Not humiliation, not begging, reality. Thank you for saying what actually happened, I said. She nodded. Then, because she was still Patricia, she waited about 15 seconds before asking, When can I see Lucy? I almost smiled. Daniel and I will talk about it. She did not like that answer, but she accepted it. The first visit was the following weekend. 1 hour at our house. Daniel and I were both there. Patricia brought Lucy a coloring book and, to her credit, did not arrive with a truckload of guilt disguised as presents. Things were not magically normal afterward. Sometimes Patricia slipped. She criticized something I cooked or told Daniel what we needed to do with the yard. Now Daniel corrected her. Mom, we are good. Sometimes she got irritated. Sometimes we ended the visit. She learned slowly, so did we. By the following Christmas, I decided I wanted to host dinner. Not 20 people, not a performance, just Robert, Patricia, Melissa and her children, Susan, Daniel, Lucy, and me. Halfway through dinner, Lucy knocked over the cranberry sauce. It slid across the tablecloth in one spectacular red wave. Everybody froze. Even I did. Patricia looked at the mess, then at Lucy. Lucy looked terrified. Patricia stood, grabbed a dish towel, and said, Well, that is why somebody invented washing machines. I laughed. I could not help it. Robert laughed too. The room relaxed. And no, that moment did not erase the Christmas before. I did not want it to. For years, I had confused endurance with maturity. I thought being a good wife meant absorbing one more insult because answering back might make dinner uncomfortable. Daniel thought being a good son meant keeping his mother calm. Robert thought being a good husband meant preventing arguments. Melissa thought accepting Patricia's help meant accepting Patricia's version of everything. We had all called it peace. Mostly it was fear with better manners. Later that night, Lucy stood in front of our Christmas tree hanging ornaments. She put one silver star about 3 inches from the floor. Daniel bent down and moved it higher. Lucy frowned, took it off, and put it right back where she had it. I said I would leave it. Daniel raised both hands. I am learning. After everyone went home, I was putting away leftovers when I opened the kitchen junk drawer. The spare key was still there. Patricia did not have it. Robert did not have it. Melissa did not have it. Maybe someday somebody would. That was not really the point anymore. For years, Patricia acted as if she was deciding whether I belonged in her family. It took me until I was 44 to understand she had been asking the wrong question. I already had a family, and this time, nobody else got to decide what happened inside its front door. Sometimes drawing a boundary with someone you love does not mean walking away forever. Sometimes it means refusing to disappear in order to stay.
You got a mouth full of jokes and a pocket full of wins, but I clock how you move when the silence begins. If you're real, then be real when the room don't clap. I can smell a costume through a velvet trap. Look on chase, I replace the chase with momentum. Heart got a lock and I change the pin on a whim too. But you got that walk away power, make a king feel a draft in his own high tower.
That mean he play no smoke, no theater. Touch my mind first, that's the real feature. Two big egos, one lane, no brakes. If it crash, let it crash from the choices we made. Don't flirt, weak bargain, heat with a fine print. Kiss like a dare, leave a mark, no fingerprint. If it's love, it moves loud, no maybe in the air. Step in, hold steady or don't come near.
Say it with your chest, not your chest. Hey, straight like that. Call me trouble, live your life, just spell it right.
And if you want peace, don't start no fight.